Those two groups are responsible for every tyranny in history. And then you've got the third group, the group that has ended every tyranny in history. How are the few going to control the many? That's the big fear this cult has. My experience of life is that authority lies, right? That's what it does. It's what it's there for, because it's trying to control the perception of the people. And all these experts have their perceptions controlled, and they pass their control of the perception onto the population who believe them because they're experts. Well, they must know what they're doing. Maybe they don't, actually. And so you have this situation where people live their lives in this myopic view of reality, in which they look outside of themselves for being told what to think. And COVID just brought that into stark reality. There's 8 billion people, and the number of people in full knowledge of what they're doing within this cult is absolutely tiny. How are the few going to control the many? Look back through history and see how it's always been the few that have controlled the many, because the population in general has given its perceptions away to the few. Often it's just, well, they tell us what to do, so we must do it. And then there's another group that says, I really don't want to do it because I don't believe it, but what are the consequences of me not doing it? And those two groups, the ones that believed authority without question, and this other group that doesn't really believe authority, doesn't want to do what authority says, but fears the consequences of not doing so. Those two groups are responsible for every tyranny in history. Because fascism, communism, and all these other expressions of tyranny, they're not imposed by fascists and communists and tyrants, because there's never enough of them. Tyrannies happen because of the population's acquiescence to tyranny. And so if you look at COVID, the reason that tyranny could be imposed was because of these two groups. How many people were jabbed because the consequences of not being jabbed were they'd lose their job or whatever? And the third group is the group that has ended every tyranny in history. And they're the ones that look at authority and what they're being told, and they say, I don't believe you, I've done my research, I know you're lying to me, and I'm not cooperating. I'm not cooperating with my own enslavement by doing what you tell me when I know that what you're telling me is to control me and to enslave me. I'm not doing it. When COVID started, a few people were protesting, and they were easily picked off by the police and arrested. By the time the COVID restrictions ended, there were maybe 100,000 people, I was among them, walking through the streets of London, protesting against the restrictions. And the police were on the side of the road watching us walk past, because there's just too many of us to stop, because there's not enough police. There's not enough in authority to stop that number of people. That's the big fear this cult has, that you have a unity of response, where we put down the fault lines that divide us, the irrelevant fault lines of religion and race and income bracket and all these things, and we come together in unity against a common threat. That's what happened with those marches. They weren't really protest marches, they were almost a spiritual experience because of the unity that was there. That's what they're terrified of, that will happen.